So now I got buddies that go and do like World War II and Vietnam War reenactments and whatnot. Now that's what I do
Oh, that's
too.
cool, dude.
Like my buddy lives over in Iowa, has you know he's got like a Jeep or a Dodge WC with a 50 cal mounted on the back, rigged up to a propane tank so that you can pull the trigger and the flames will come out the front.
Welcome, dude.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, what's up?
What's up? Yeah, man. So how, I'm trying to remember if you said you're on Milsim, what's the team you're on?
White Horse Milsim.
White Horse. That's Michigan, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. That's Minty and oh
Pineapple
yeah.
and Dakota, Rambo, 50. Yeah,
Yeah, so I've had Rambo on here. I've had Minty on here.
yeah,
Who else? Well, I guess you're the third one from that
yeah,
team. Nice.
yeah.
That's cool,
And
man.
and so basically, I would like to talk about that team and kind of lightly touch on uh,
Yeah.
the kind of state of the community, I suppose. We
Oh,
can talk
okay.
about that.
So the one thing, you and I message each other
Yep.
just like today or whatever, and most people know this. People that have been following our channel for a long time, and especially part of the, have been a part of the podcast or followed the podcast or listened to it, whatever, they know I don't really promote a lot of negative. This whole
Yep.
channel is about promoting the positive stuff of airsoft. So
Mm,
it's really rare that we talk about some of the negative stuff. And
right.
yeah, it's I don't like pointing out uh, a person or a certain, like especially if it's
Right.
just one
Right.
incident, because that's not really an accurate representation of that person. Or maybe they had a
Right.
bad weekend. I don't know.
Results may vary with
They do, right? I
people.
mean, everyone is
Yeah.
allowed to have some emotional f ups. You know what I'm saying? Like even if it's just posting something. I did when we went to Stonebreaker um, last year,
Mm,
the year before. Me and my son went there, and they had some issues. This is a Third Coast Airsoft
yeah.
event, and we've been to numerous times, and well, my boys had anyway. So they had some issues come up that had never happened before. It was a really random thing, and it was like three or four things at once. Okay, and it was all
Yeah.
happened on Friday during the registration. So they had less people to work the registration stuff. And what I did was I didn't plan on posting a negative video. I
Right.
was in the building after we checked in, and I was telling everybody because I was meeting like eight different people there, and I was like, "Hey, all right, we're here," and I was going to post on my Instagram, real short video, and we just got through check-in, and let me tell you, check-in's a bitch, okay? Because this happened, this happened, this happened, and so I didn't think anything of it. I wasn't bashing them.
Right.
I wasn't
Right.
bashing. I love Sal and Third Coast Airsoft. They've always done really good events and everything. So
Mm,
it was just this one thing. But Sal called me like Monday. I forgot. I mean, I totally forgot about the video. It was no big deal. I didn't feel that. I wasn't mad. That angry. So
sure.
he's like, man, would you mind taking that video down? I've gotten like 200 emails about this thing. I said, what? He goes, yeah, man. I said, "Oh, dude, I'm sorry, man. I didn't even think it was." So look, even I had
Mm,
like that. It just comes out. It's no big deal. But
right.
the only reason we talked about recently, we talked about some of this stuff was I asked Pink Unicorn ahead of
Right.
time, "Did you want to talk about this stuff? Because I see you go back and forth online, whatever." And
Right.
we're not
Right.
going to bring it up here
Sure.
today. It's no
Yeah.
big deal. But anyway, that's I normally don't. I don't like getting into the drama stuff.
Right. Right. Right.
Because this whole podcast is about connecting airsofters around the world with their stories. Maybe they'll find some similarities. Maybe they'll find somebody that's like you know a cool
Hmm.
partner in airsoft, that they can connect with, vibe with or whatever.
Sure.
So yeah. So anyway, that's what this is about.
Sounds
So
good.
Yeah, man. Whatever you want to talk about is cool. I always leave it up to the guest. I mean,
Sure.
my ugly mug's on here every podcast, and I try to have a different guest on, and I'm trying to hear about you and your stuff and your experience. So whatever you want to talk on, promote, promote. You know, if you have a YouTube channel, any kind of socials, that's what I try to get people. You know, more followers or whatever. Like that's how you build a community. So
Right. Right.
yeah, man. So anyway, welcome. I appreciate you being on here, and you're part of a cool team out there with Minty and a couple other guys I've had on that were really fun to
Yeah.
talk with.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the
Yeah.
Michigan dudes, man.
They're
So
built
Michigan
different.
State or Michigan Wolverines?
Well, I'm actually from Chicago,
Okay,
so
so you're not really in the Michigan.
I don't really follow the college football. I know that
Yeah,
Michigan State just won the championship. Jim Harbaugh is their coach. I just watched
Michigan Wolverines. Yeah,
Or yeah,
yeah.
like I'm not.
Don't say that at work now. They'll gut you for that. Okay,
Yeah. I'll get dragged.
Minty, get him. No, just kidding.
This guy doesn't know what he's talking about. So and Minty, I love that guy to death.
Oh
You
yeah,
know, I drove. We had a Friendsgiving, and so I drove like 3 hours or whatever it was up to his place up in Michigan to do this Friendsgiving thing, and Pineapple and Dakota Rambo. All these guys came out, and it was a great time to hang out and actually get to meet some of these guys that I've only ever known over Discord.
right. Okay.
So,
So you got to put a face with the name and all kind
Right.
of stuff with that.
Right,
That's
right, right,
awesome,
yeah.
dude.
yeah, it really was just a great time. And so with White Horse, for me, I got into Airsoft in like 2017. I was,
Okay.
just doing like local open plays at a field over in northern Illinois called Legacy Paintball and Airsoft down in Lockport. And I just got some like cheap ass AG, and I was just running games, every other weekend or whatever. And I didn't have a car at the time. I was still in high school,
Okay.
and so I didn't really have, I didn't know anybody. I wasn't part of a team. Still in high school, didn't have a car. It was like 30 some odd minutes away from where I was living at the time. So I was very much on the amateur side of things. So, or not necessarily amateur, but just very casual airsoft.
Gotcha.
Um,
Right.
So I was doing that, and I, graduated high school. I joined the Navy. I was a hospital corpsman in the United States Navy, and so I
Nice.
deployed overseas. I was in Guantanamo Bay, Cuba.
Woo, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
You earn your stripes there. That's for sure.
right. So
I had a buddy go over there. Yeah, that place is no joke. Okay. I mean, it's boring, right? But it's
Yeah.
intense training and boring. Yeah.
Yeah. So Gitmo was essentially Groundhog Day in Mayberry from the Andy Griffith show,
Yeah.
where it was real small. So Gitmo was a 45 square mile base. However,
Whoa, that's small.
only 15 miles of that was actual roads and residential buildings.
Whoa.
So it's even smaller. You can
Yeah.
look at a map, and you'll see that, so you've got, the bay, windward and leeward side, and so everything is on the windward side, so the east side of the bay.
Yeah.
And so there, you've got like a decommissioned airfield we used to go and like do like illegal like drag racing with our
Nice.
little beaters that we had down there. These like ratty ass what were called Gitmo beaters, which were cars that were just have been sitting on this on this base for like 20 years.
Right.
And, they got brought over, when, people first started the PCS for a forward deployment. So, guys, will bring their cars down there or whatever, guys that were, when the naval station first started getting, more than just reservists, reserve CB battalions, military police, Army military police battalions.
Oh yeah.
Is kind of where it started. They were CBs were down there constructing the camps, Camp X-Ray, Camp Echo, Camp Delta, and then they ended up building the Joint Detention Center, which was Camp 5 and Camp 6, and Camp Delta ended up. That was a old camp that they ended up, to my knowledge, reconfiguring that as like an administrative, like offices and stuff like that. Filling out paperwork and whatnot.
Okay.
So, anyway, so yeah, all these cars were just junk.
Yeah.
There was a guy down there that had a C6 Corvette. Some officer brought his Corvette down there, which is like the worst place to bring any car that means anything to you.
Really?
Yeah, because Gitmo is in like a basin. It's at the base of a basin, so you've got ocean on one side, on the south side. On the north side, you have mountains all the way around. So it's the climate there is very much like a desert, right? It's very arid. There's like cactus and like rattlesnakes and like mesquite trees. It's
what?
The environment there is very much similar to the American Southwest, like
that's
Arizona
wild.
or Texas, Mexico, or Nevada. It's it's very much the same.
Yeah.
And so I was there attached to the naval hospital, and that was like my first overseas tour. And so I was down there, working at this naval hospital. That it ended up going from naval hospital to NMRTC, or Navy Medical Readiness Training Command.
Okay.
DHA, Defense Health Agency, which is all like Air Force, like bigwig Air Force, Army types.
Yeah.
That basically run all of the military medical facilities. Like you've got like Landstuhl, Army Regional Medical Center over in Germany. They're part of DHA. We had like this 1 or 2 star general come down one time, and we all went down to the camp. Buckley Hall was the name of this building, and so Buckley was like this Navy guy who won the Medal of Honor, and I think he was a boatswain's mate or something.
Okay.
As an enlisted guy, and so we went and he came down and spoke to us about a bunch of stuff that I don't even remember, because when there's a 1 or a 2 star guy, I mean, it's like talking to a politician, all
right.
The audience will ask a question, and they'll kind of tiptoe and bounce around and answer the question with another question.
Yeah.
Well, so what do you what do you think about the state of this and that? He's like, well, we're working really hard to try and fix that, and so it's it's not. I don't want to say that it's meaningless, but it's when you're talking to people like that, you have to expect a very
broad general answers.
Answers, because
They're
ultimately,
not.
they're just the guy that signs the
Yep.
paperwork.
Right.
You know, they're not. You know, it's like talking to, you know, what you know, whether it's like
I mean, they're the
a
face of it.
governing body person, like, you know, the president
Yeah.
of the United States or the state governor or whatever. You
Yeah.
know, it's yeah, they're the guy or girl or
They're
whatever,
signing off on it, but it's
but
they're
it's
yeah,
not
they're just like
ultimately
a
up.
talking
Ultimately,
head.
it's all up to them, but it's just
Yeah.
not. You know, they're not the guy that's actually, you know, thinking about all this stuff. It's on the very base level.
Right.
But yeah, so Gitmo was just crazy. It was very small, and so I ended up finishing my tour and going to Jacksonville, Florida, and finishing out my time
Okay.
there. And so Jacksonville was great too. You know, the weather was really nice. You know, we could actually
Sure.
go off base and stuff.
Right.
The hospital, naval hospital down there is just huge.
Is it really?
It's it's like it's I wouldn't say that it's as big as like Navy Medical Center in Portsmouth or, you know, Lavelle Medical Center up at Great Lakes Naval Station.
Mm.
It's kind of in between. It's you know, like there's a naval hospital in Jacksonville, and then they have regional branch health clinics in like Mayport and uh, you know, everywhere that there's a naval base. You know, that like there's one in um, what is that place called? I can't think of it off the top of my head because I wasn't there.
Yeah.
But so there's like clinics that are
Mm-hmm.
dotted all over
Yeah.
Florida and northern Florida up in the Panhandle.
Okay.
Uh, you know, and like Kings Bay, Georgia has a clinic, the sub base. So
Mm.
it was kind of cool, you know, that you kind of go to where, you know, it's very similar to like a VA hospital. You know, is like
Okay.
the VA hospital, and then they have like the C box, which are the civilian, the community based clinics that are in like
Mm-hmm.
different residential neighborhoods. It's kind of like that. You know, you've
Okay.
got the number one, and then you've got the little, you know,
Yeah.
on the outside.
Now
So
you liked Florida, you said, being there?
Florida was really nice. The weather was very similar to that at Gitmo, but it was more
Just more humid.
humid.
Yeah.
Gitmo was very dry.
Right.
So, like in Gitmo, we would have hurricanes come through, and we would, you know, pack sandbags and put, you know, plastic bags over all the computers, and
Yeah.
you know, put not necessarily board up the windows, but you know, we would like get everything away from the windows and
Right.
all this stuff, all this important computers and whatnot, because we were worried that, you know, like holy shit, you know, everything's going to get ruined.
Yeah.
But of course that never happened because a lot of the hurricanes, all we would get is rain. You know,
Okay.
it would be like a really like a we would have like a monsoon
Right.
type rainstorm, and then that would be it.
Okay.
Um, so I got out of the Navy, and I, you know, I'm a disabled vet, and so I um, wanted to, you know, get kind of, you know, I really wanted to get back into airsoft in a more, you know, official way.
Yeah. Now
So
you played airsoft before you went in the Navy, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's
Very,
what you're saying.
very
Okay.
like open plays and whatnot.
Right. Right. Okay.
So the first team that I ever got involved with is a team that's still around, which is the 198th Light Infantry Brigade, Bravo Company 146 Infantry, which is
Bro,
a
that's a long name.
yeah, and that is a like Milsim light. I'm
Okay.
going to use Milsim very loosely. Um, And so this is a team that's mostly younger guys, early 20s, mid
Right.
30s, based out of northeast Illinois that would go to the this field called Black Ops Airsoft up in Bristol, Wisconsin, and
Okay.
over to paintball explosion over in Hobart, Indiana.
Okay.
And there was another
That sounds
field
familiar.
that we went to. We went to an event hosted by Mere Tactical called Operation Red Dawn, which is a like Cold War gone hot, Red Dawn, kind of like the movie type,
Just like the movie, yeah.
basically. And so
I've talked to a couple people that went to that.
Yeah, and that was a great. It was very. I would not go as far as to say that it was a full on Milsim
Yeah.
event type.
Well,
But
they said, the people I talked to, they said, it was fun going to see everybody and all that, but it was kind of a shit show because, it gets kind of, I guess it's not as organized or whatever, but
right.
yeah, overall it was good. It's a good event.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so we went out there and we so Red Dawn was really good. We went up to Black Ops Airsoft up in Bristol, Wisconsin, which is a great field. Really, really nice property up there. And they had an event called Operation Red Snapper, and a bunch of us went. And so this, Bravo Company 146 is a airsoft team where we, run M16A1s and like OG 107 Vietnam War uniforms and M1 helmets,
cool.
steel pot helmets, and
Yeah.
Lightweight rucksacks, and we run a Vietnam War kit, and all of us do.
Mm.
And so
That's pretty cool.
At these events that we go to, that are all wearing like multicam, every head to toe, M16s with M4s with lasers and lights and scopes and grips, and we're over here running bare bones M16 A1s, M14s and M60s, and big ass radios.
Right. The Prick 77, buddy. That's what I was running when.
I've got one that works.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
What? Yeah. Bro, that's what I trained with. I mean, I wasn't a radio operator, but that's what we trained with in the field. Okay.
I have one that works.
That's awesome.
I got from a guy who I was at some. The Countryside Military Show up in Countryside, Illinois. That was hosted over at the local 150 operators, Heavy Equipment Operators Union Hall.
Yeah.
And I went there and I was walking around and I'm just wearing, one of my Vietnam War combat tops, field shirts, and this guy calls me. He's like, "Hey man, you like Vietnam stuff?" I was like, "Yeah." Check this out. He sets this big ass 20-pound radio on the table and she's like, "This thing works." He's like, "I'm trying to get rid of it. The wife has been getting on me." He's like, she's been saying, "I've got too much shit." He's like, I gotta get rid of this thing.
That's awesome.
He's like, I hate to see it go.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, he dropped the number that he was looking for, and I'm like, I don't have it right now, but here, give me your number. I'll call you in a few weeks. A couple weeks later, I went. I met him at the same show a couple months later.
Yeah.
And I bought it.
Nice.
And he like hooked it up. Plugged the battery in and whatnot, and had his buddy on another radio get on the horn. He's like, "What do you want your call sign to be?" And I was like, "I don't know, Bravo 6 or whatever." He's like, "Bravo 6, do you read? Solid copy radio check." I was like, "Holy shit!"
It works.
You just don't see stuff like that
No.
in working condition like that anymore, with the amount of maintenance that it takes to keep them running. And a lot of them were demilled in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
And I mean, as far as the U.S. military is concerned, they're very largely not in service anymore.
No.
They're using Singar's units now, and they're using the PRC 152s.
Okay.
So
Yeah, that's wild. Like can you even get an extra battery for it anymore? Like working stuff.
So,
I mean, how would you even? Yeah, that's crazy.
the
Surplus stores.
Well, so originally they came with like 12 volt or 24 volt dry magnesium batteries. Comes in a little cardboard box. It's about that big. And this one was rigged up to take rechargeable batteries of the same voltage.
Whoa, that's cool.
And you hook it up black to black, red to red, like a car battery.
Okay.
And it goes into the little battery compartment box that clips into the bottom.
Uh-huh.
And then it works.
That's wild.
Which is just the coolest fucking.
That is cool. That is cool.
So that Airsoft team started in October of 2022.
Okay.
Now, I joined the team, a little bit into it. Went and met these guys at the first little get-together we had up in January.
Yeah, how'd you meet them? Just like at the field or something?
I met them through a Discord server. I think I met them through the Illinois Airsoft Discord server, ILA. And I just said, somebody said something about, hey, does anybody here like, running a Vietnam kit? And I was like, I do. And, they got me in touch with actual, they're all Vietnam reenactors.
Okay.
And so they go to these really big events up in Lockport and Rockford, Illinois. There's really big World War II events and whatnot, and a lot of them do World War II as well. So now I got buddies that go and do like World War II and Vietnam War reenactments and whatnot. Now that's what I do.
Oh, that's cool, dude.
Like my buddy lives over in Iowa, he's got like a Jeep or a Dodge WC with a 50 cal mounted on the back, rigged up to a propane tank so that you can pull the trigger and the flames will come out the front.
That's awesome. What?
Yeah. And he's
that's
got
cool.
A Dingo, and he's got a World War II Jeep now.
Okay. I love those old things. Yeah.
So we went out to this event called In Country out in southeast Iowa. And so he's got the toys and the blank fire guns to loan out to people, and he's got the property, and he's got the vehicles, and everybody comes out and that sets up their old GP medium tents, and we spend a weekend out there doing that. Which is just the coolest thing once it's all, everybody brings a piece, and once it's all put together, it really is just a cool experience.
You just went back in time. Yeah.
Almost, like with the 198th, we've got guys that have like a 35 millimeter camera, and we've gone to these different events. Like we went to this event up at Black Ops Airsoft up in Bristol, Wisconsin, called Colony Wars.
Okay.
Which is a weekend-long event, and there's different colonies, like pink, green, blue, yellow, gray, and they all are fighting over resources.
Gotcha.
and so we went and we set up uh, a cut down GP small and a mountaineering tent, squad tent, and we got like the Arvin flag and the American flag set up, and we got like this
That's
little
awesome.
uh, like Halloween skeleton that's wearing like a VC pith helmet and one of the SKS chest rigs, and we're like
Nice.
pictures next to him like it's Full Metal Jacket, and so
Yep. I was just gonna say, you got the 35 millimeter camera. You got just reenact the Full Metal Jacket scenes. That's awesome.
so these kind of events really helped me as a disabled vet go out, and it's I would go as far as say that it's very therapeutic
Right.
to go out and sleeping on under the stars in a sleeping bag, or on a cot in a GP's medium tent. you know it's really for when you're in the military, and then you get out, and I spent the better part of a year after I got out trying to figure out what I was going to do.
Sure.
I was bouncing between jobs, trying to get back into the saddle.
Yeah.
All my friends went off to college, or they're still in the military, or they got out and they're out in Florida or New Jersey or wherever they're from. I have a buddy who's in Bahrain right now that married a girl from Thailand, and now he's got a house out there.
Oh, okay.
He's got like a house and a truck and a motorcycle. He's like, yeah, in like a year and a half, if you want to come out and I'll show you the country for like 2 weeks. He's like, it's only going to cost this much for $1,300 for a round trip or whatever. And you could live off $1,000 for 2 weeks there, because everything's so
Oh yeah, easy,
compared to the
easy.
U.S. dollar. So
Uh-huh.
I got out of the Navy, and I'm like, trying to make friends. I'm like, I got out of the military, and I was for a very very short period of time, I had this mentality of like, how do I relate to people who have no idea what some of the stuff that I had to do. Waking up at 4:30 in the morning to be at formation, or for form up for PT by 5 o'clock, and PT for an hour, go back to your room, shit, shower, shave, and then be back in your uniform out at 0700, formed up for
Right.
inspection before you go off to do whatever you got to do.
Yeah, I remember when there was a commercial when I was growing up. When I was a teenager, there was a commercial, an Army commercial. They used to say, "We do more before 9 a.m.
Yeah.
or 0900, whatever, than
Yeah.
most people do all day." And it's so
Right.
true. And when you live like that, even if even just the regular daily life in the military, it's pretty intense compared to civilian life. It really is. It's especially nowadays, man, because people are so unaccountable for their calendar, like their time and their money. Like they're very non-committal. So people are just, most people, they don't care about like their word being their bond anymore. Like if they say, "Oh yeah, I'll be over at yeah, I'll come over. I'll be over at your place, or let's meet over here." It's like
Right.
it's almost like expected in our society today. It's almost expected that they're gonna cancel
30 minutes late.
or be late, and it's like it's so weird because in the military you're held to a higher standard for, like when we say 7:30, that doesn't mean 7:32.
Right.
Like you're UA.
You got to be there 15 minutes prior, or you're late.
Right. Early is on time is late. Like that's, so it's a very it is a hard adjustment when you get out. Now, what kind of work did you look for, or what kind of work did you do when you first got out?
Well, so before I joined the Navy, I worked as a bar back at a steakhouse when I was like 15 or 16 years old.
That's good
Busting,
work for a teenager, man, because that's heavy
yeah,
lifting and
I was
hustle.
lifting these big, kegs of alcohol and
Yeah.
these cardboard boxes that got the plastic bags in them with the nozzle that you plug into the soda
Uh
guns.
huh.
I'd have like a little earpiece radio clipped to my apron,
Oh, nice.
and the bartender would be like, "Hey, I need
Case
six,
of this and
yeah, I need a case of this, and I need 6 bottles of Riesling,
uh
two
huh.
bottles of white, and 1 bottle of red." And you go down into the basement or go into the the little cooler and go grab everything, and I'm fucking
Oh yeah.
you know. So I did that for a
Hauling
little.
that heavy stuff without dropping, breaking glass.
And breaking glass absolutely happened.
Uh huh.
And you're standing there like, fuck. You're all beat red. You're like, God damn.
I had a buddy that did that at a strip club,
Yeah.
and he showed me. I followed him around, just messing around. I was over there, and he was showing me all the running back and forth and carrying this and that. He was a small dude, but he was short, but he was in
Yeah.
really good shape. He wrestled in high school. He wrestled 96 pound weight class. The weight class
Right. Right.
96 pound, and so he was real tiny, but he was super strong. And he was fast, man. He was perfect for that job because he could fit through those tiny hallways that most
Mhm.
bars have. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And carry that shit pretty quickly. But yeah, that's not an easy job.
No. No. And when I was making like $7.50 an hour part time,
Yeah,
with live trying to live off of tips in high school, you know, if I got 10, 15, $20 worth of tips in a night, I was a
yeah,
happy man.
sure, man. You're like, whoa, okay.
Holy shit, I one time I made $40 in tips, and like to me that was like
Oh my god,
crazy,
right?
right?
Uh
So
huh.
I did that. I
You went
worked
back to that when you got out.
no, no,
Oh,
um, no, so I did that. That was my first job.
oh,
I went
okay.
to a grocery store and I was pushing shopping carts,
Oh yeah.
whether it was negative 56-degree wind chill on the coldest day I have ever seen in my entire life, versus like 115 degrees in the summertime,
Yeah,
where it's just sweltering heat, and that's like what they in the military they would call like a heat index black
yeah. The
heat.
Black Flag days.
Yeah,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
that's what it would have been. But
Yeah, we had a few of those
got a job there
in
and had to
Okinawa,
get done.
Japan. Yep.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure when you were in Okinawa, you enjoyed the base restrictions that they have all the time.
Which ones?
Well, at least I know for the guys that I know that were in Okinawa over
Yeah.
at I can't remember the name of the camps.
So there was Foster, there
Yeah,
was
that was it.
Butler, there was
Yeah,
okay. Yeah.
yeah, and so one Marine or two Marines or whatever would go out off base and get trashed and get
Oh yeah.
arrested, and then they would put the whole camp, Camp Foster, Camp Butler, or wherever you were at on the island,
Yeah.
um, on restriction, and nobody would be able to leave
Oh.
post for a month or 2 months or 3 months.
Well, oh no, that never happened to us, bro. Like never.
Really?
No, no. And we were effed up, bro. I mean, we were unhinged. Like
Yeah.
there was some kind of crazy shit happening every weekend. It was pretty wild, but no, they never locked us down. Never. The whole year I was there, they never. We had one night a guy in the barracks. Him and we're always drunk. Just assume we're always drunk. And we're on the second floor. He's sitting on the window sill. They got the windows slit open. Those big glass windows, and he falls backwards out of it and breaks his back. Lands on the shrubbery on the bottom. It's only like 25 feet, but
Right.
breaks his back. His buddy goes down. His bunkmate goes down. Nobody knew he broke his back. He goes down there. We're all drunk. Fireman carries him up the stairs and throws him in his rack. So, and then he's paralyzed. Okay. Now, temporarily, they were able to fix him, but shit like that. Another guy put his arm through the window. He got a Dear John letter. When he pulled it out, it just, this hole from his elbow on the inside down to his, wrist was cut open. It was like a scene out of The Shining. And he's in the barracks in the hallway. Our doors opened up inside instead of outdoors. And it's just all over the hallway walls. And he's just yelling like, F that bitch and, whatever. I don't care what, that was another time we had four of our buddies went and got hit by cars on the Okinawa freeway because they didn't walk over the walkover bridge. They tried to run across and after 10 o'clock at night, there's no speed limit. So they got hit by those little rice burner cars or whatever, and no, they got fucked up. They got fucked up. One of the guys was permanent brain damage. He crushed his sinus cavity, so he had sinus fluid leaking out his nose, and massive brain damage. Was almost a vegetable. He could still function, but he was a retard. He was a retard, like for real. He was just, didn't know his name. We felt so bad for him, but the other guy broke his femur. It was a wreck. It was just shit like that all the time, bro. So, and I'm not trying to say, we were crazy or nothing. It's just, you don't think of it like that. You don't think of it like that when you're there. But, no, it's just weird that you say that because I never knew that they could do that. We never had that experience where they locked it down. So, that's wild.
In Bahrain was saying that they get, really the only thing that we can do out here is drink.
Yeah.
So, and we'll get, the boat or whatever will come in with all this alcohol and it'll get all sold. The shelves will be clean by the end of the day. So he said what they started doing was, like every week or whatever, or every month or whatever, you would get X many points, and you could use those points to go buy alcohol.
Huh. Okay.
So the guys that wouldn't drink would go and buy a couple bottles of booze, and then go off base and sell it. For he said, a handle of Jack Daniels, which is only, I don't know, between $15 and $20 probably.
Right.
Depending on where you are. They were flipping it for like $60 or $80.
Right.
Because, the US dollar is worth, but other, people in, downtown, Bahrain or whatever, whatever town is right off base, will pay money.
Oh, sure.
Because everything is so expensive out there.
Huh. That's wild.
He said if you go to a nice restaurant and you sit down and have dinner, it'll probably cost you $120 for one person.
Woo, bro. No, thank you.
So, but he said they were having.
I don't like food that much.
Yeah.
I do like food. I like eating, obviously, but I don't really care about the taste that as much, to spend that much on it.
Right. So.
That's crazy. Okay.
Yeah. So. But back to me, I was working at a grocery store. I was doing contract painting for a little bit.
Oh, okay. Indoor, outdoor, both?
Both.
Oh, okay.
I was doing contract painting down in a couple neighborhoods. Outside of Chicago. I was doing painting out in a neighborhood called Pullman neighborhood, historic Pullman neighborhood down in town, Chicago, which was like the first ever. It's a national park almost.
Okay.
It was
like it's protected, like the historical, like you can't renovate certain parts of the. Yeah, I worked in when I flipped houses. Some of the houses we had were in historical district in here in Greenville, South Carolina, and it was same thing. Like they had really strict. Like you couldn't update too much of the outside because they wanted to, kind of keep that historical value there. Yeah.
And so what we were doing is we were restoring exterior paint on these apartment buildings to
Gotcha.
match what they would have looked like in the like 1890s.
Oh, wow.
It had to be this certain shade of green, and everything had to be up to snuff because people were paying big money to do this.
Sure.
Whoever owned the building wanted it to be how it used to be.
That's wild.
So
Okay.
I was doing that. Working for a family friend, making $100 a day or whatever
Mm-hmm.
in high school. That to me that was
Oh, that's a lot
good money
for high school. Yeah, sure.
So I was doing that. I joined the Navy. I got out of the Navy.
Why'd you go in the Navy, or why did you go in the military?
Well, so I actually have this the CB tattoo here. It says "Can Do." My dad, my grandfather were both United States Navy Seabees.
Oh, that's awesome. I worked with Seabees in Okinawa. Yeah.
Yeah. My dad was a equipment operator first class. He joined the Navy in 1987 and went to nuke school to be a nuclear guy, a nuke.
Yeah.
There's like 3 or 4 rates that nukes can go into, nuclear machinist mate, whatever.
Right.
And he ended up, going out, getting drunk, and failing out of the school. He had scored so high in the ASVAB, 90-something, but he was like, I don't want to fucking do this. Dropped out of high school and he went into the fleet undesignated.
Okay.
Undesignated seaman attached to a fast combat support ship that was based out in Norfolk, Virginia.
Okay.
And he struck for a rate. So when you go into the Navy as an undesignated sailor, for one reason or another, you failed out of A school, your needs of the Navy, you get sent off to a boat, and you get a year to be undesignated, and then you get to strike for a rate.
Okay.
Firemen, like seaman, electrician.
Oh, okay.
HT, hull technician, boatswain's mate, shit like that.
Okay. Yeah.
If you're on an aircraft carrier, you can go for like aviation rates. So you've got 3 pack rates. You've got pack seaman, which is being on a ship in like a deck department. You've got pack airman, which means that you're attached to either a naval air station or a carrier, where you can do the same thing but with like aviation machinist mate, aviation aviation ordnanceman, AO, different aviation style rates. And then you had, I believe it was fire pack, where you could go and be like a DC man and work in the engine room, machinist mate type stuff.
Oh, okay. Right.
So he struck for boatswain's mate because he was on deck department, and picked up E4, and he was on this fast combat support ship for a tour in the Mediterranean. And of course he went down. He did a tour down in. He went to like Sydney, Australia, and Okinawa, and all these different islands out there.
He might have been because I was in Okinawa in 1990, and if he went in 87, yeah, we might have crossed paths. That's crazy.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, he was on the USS Seattle with the America aircraft carrier task group.
Okay.
And so he was down there doing that. He got to ride in an intruder.
What's that?
The intruder was a carrier-based bomber.
Huh.
That the Navy used to fly in the 80s and 90s.
Oh, okay.
A4 intruder.
Okay.
And you've got the two, so instead of pilot be front to back.
Yeah.
You'd have the pilot and you'd have the bombardier or the navigator or whatever.
Okay.
He was in. He was on, some base somewhere, renovating pool tables.
Huh.
He went into this bar and he's drunk and he's bitching. He's like, all these pool tables are fucked up, and the supply officer who's sitting behind the bar, he's like, well, you find somebody to come out here and renovate these pool tables to make this right if you're gonna bitch so much.
Yeah.
Like, well, I did that that was one of my jobs I was doing back, before I joined the Navy. But I'll do it.
Yeah.
He was TDY to this base renovating pool tables for like 2 weeks or something.
That's crazy. Okay.
And they had 4 of the intruders at this naval air station down there.
Mm-hmm.
That all had to fly back to the USS America, which was a like Kitty Hawk class cruise carrier or something like that.
Okay.
And so he got to fly in an A4 intruder back to the carrier group because his ship and the carrier group left port.
Right.
So that
Well,
was
he was TDY.
Yeah, because he was TDY.
Right.
That was the only way that he could get back to the boat.
Right.
But this lieutenant commander, takes him up. He's like, he was recalling the story to me the other day. He's like, that's the highlight of my Navy career right there.
Mm-hmm.
I never got a chance to do it again.
That's cool.
And he's like 18, 19 years old. And this
Sure.
commander is just playing with him at this point. He's doing barrel rolls. And
trying to make him throw up.
Yeah. And he's like, and he says, this lieutenant commander who's a pilot, who's like the head guy of the squadron or whatever.
Right.
He's like, hey, you wanna take the stick? And he's like, no. He's like, oh, well, that sucks because I don't feel like flying either. And he lets go. He grabs on the stick. He got to fly it for a little bit, and they got to the America carrier group, and he got brought back to his boat by
That's
helicopter
cool.
by the medallion that they had on the back.
Right.
And so he was a bosun's mate. He got out, met my mom. My mom was a career Navy man, and he had just my mom's dad was a chief in the Seabees as an equipment operator up at Navy Mobile Construction Battalion 26. And he's like, you really should go back in. My dad got out and was being truck driver. He was driving for trucking companies and whatnot. He's like,
sure.
I know how to drive a truck. So he went back into the reserves CB and deployed to Iraq. And he ended up getting out as a CB combat warfare qualified equipment operator first class.
Whoa, that's cool.
My grandfather ended up getting out as a command master chief, and which is an E9. It's equivalent to a command sergeant major.
Yep.
And so, ever since I was a little kid, all I wanted to do was join the Navy.
Right.
That's all I wanted to do was go join the Navy and see the world and go to fun and interesting places and meet new and exciting people and kill them.
Mm-hmm. Kill them. What was that from? That's a. Oh my God! I just saw it. It's a show or a movie.
It was a movie. Yeah, I can't remember what it's called.
Okay. Anyway, yeah, I recognize it. Yeah, it's funny.
So I wanted to join the Navy. So
I
joined the Navy. I wanted to go be a Navy diver because I was already scuba certified, and I like to dive.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
How did you get into? How did you do that before the military? The scuba thing.
There was actually a class in my high school.
Really?
There was a scuba program, and we would go down to this quarry and dive.
That's kind of different for being in. Where were you at? Illinois at the time?
Yeah.
That's kind of different because usually coastal places would do that, right?
Yeah, and so how it worked is it like took place in the gym class or whatever.
Yeah.
And we would have this. We had all this scuba gear, and we had a PADI certified instructor at my high school, and we would, the freshman class would be, doing their swim sessions or whatever above us, and we'd be underwater with our BCs and our scuba tanks.
That's crazy.
Going through, hula hoops tied to weights, doing our little drills and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And to fuck with some of the freshmen, would like go up and like grab their foot as they're swimming above us. We
That's funny.
told us not to fuck with them, but sometimes we
Right.
thought it was funny.
Yeah, because those pools are what, like 12 feet?
Uh, yeah, like 12 feet. Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe even deeper than that. I don't remember.
Yeah,
But,
12 or 15. Okay.
yeah. And so I wanted to be a Navy diver, but because I wore glasses, they're like, you're gonna need
Oh,
LASIK.
yep.
And I was like, you know what? I just want to get into the Navy. I don't really, I'm not really dead set on doing this.
Right.
Thing. I'm not really
Doesn't have to be. Right.
having laser eye surgery.
Yeah.
So, one of my buddies goes and one of my buddies in high school goes and he joins the Navy to be a corpsman.
Okay.
And every time I would go into the recruiting office, I would say, yeah, my buddy, it's just, he's going to be a corpsman. My recruiter was like, well, you seem kind of interested in being a corpsman. What do you think? I got this rate set aside if you want it. And I said, all right, I'll do that. It's good enough for him. It's good enough for me. Well, he ended up failing. He ended up going into Corps School as a HMATF, which is HM Hospital Corpsman Advanced Technical Field.
Okay.
I mean, because he was trying to go into the pipeline of like being like a MARSOC, SARC, Special Amphibious Reconnaissance Corpsman.
Right.
And so, in order to do that, 9 times out of 10, you have to either pick that school afterwards, go to that city school, and go through the pipeline, or you can enlist with it on your contract.
Oh, okay.
And it ended up didn't work out, and now he's an aviation ordnanceman on a carrier or something like that.
Okay.
But I was a corpsman. I went to Fort Sam Houston, San Antonio, Texas for Hospital Corps School. And I had a lot of really good, my whole career, I had a lot of really, really good corpsmen that were, my chiefs on my HM1s, E6s.
Yeah.
I knew a lot of IDCs, independent duty corpsmen. I knew guys. I never went, disclaimer, I never went and did cool guy shit,
Yeah.
But I knew a lot of guys that did. I knew a lot of guys.
I mean, that's the same with me. I didn't go. Yeah.
SOC, your Special Operations Command Europe, or
most people that are in the military do not go on the front lines of combat. That's 99.9% of everyone in all branches of the military. Right. You're not in the shit, quote unquote, all the time. That's just a lot of these younger people see all these movies. They see a lot of the guys that are in that field and have been in that kind of situation or those kind of situations. They're more prominent online, and so they have a lot more online presence with their socials, and so I think a lot of young people have this misconception. Oh, you were in the Navy? Oh man, you were in the shit. Like, oh, you were in the Marine Corps? You were in the shit. Like, bro, no. Not everyone.
That's just not the case with
no.
90% of the people that join the military.
Yeah, so, I mean, we a lot of us want to. We want to end up there.
Go do cool shit.
We want to do cool shit, of course. Like, who doesn't? So, but that's not reality.
No. And the thing that I will tell anybody that wants to join the military, if you want to go be an operator, you want to go, do cool guy shit, jumping out of helicopters and fucking killing bad guys. If you want to do that, you can go the route of signing up a contract and going to, let's say you wanted to go into the Navy for buds. If you wanted to be a SEAL,
right?
I knew guys who were SEAL, what we called them bud studs. They were SEAL dropouts.
Right. There's a lot of them. There's more than make it. Oh, by the way, side note, I remembered where that quote's from. It's Full Metal Jacket.
Yeah.
Matthew Modine says, okay, go ahead. Anyway.
So let's say you wanted to go be a SEAL and you go to a recruiting office and say, I was a badass track star in high school. I want to be a United States Navy SEAL operator, SO, badass motherfucker. And you sign up and you go to MEPS and you get all your stuff taken care of and you sign up this contract saying you're going to go be a SEAL guy. And you go to boot camp in an 800 division, which is the special divisions for all the cool wannabe badasses that are going to go be.
Oh, so in boot camp they actually have like a special
they're
unit?
separate from everybody else, yeah.
Wow.
And so,
Okay.
you're going to be with all the guys that want to be SEALs or SWIC or EOD or Navy diver or SAR, search and rescue, combat rescue swimmers and all that shit.
Mm-hmm.
Say, all right, we're going to put all you guys together, and you guys are all going to go swimming, and you guys are all going to be working out extra hard and all this other stuff. So let's say you pass boot camp with this 800 division, and you pass all your stuff and whatever, and you go to what's called Buds Prep, which is a barracks on the Naval Station Great Lakes side across the street from Recruit Training Command, because you already graduated boot camp.
Yeah.
And you're there for like a month or two, and then you're waiting for your orders to go to Buds, which is at NAB, Naval Amphibious Base Coronado down in Southern California.
Yep.
On the Silver Strand.
Mm-hmm.
So you go there, right? And you go to Buds, and let's say something happens and you don't graduate Buds as a SEAL, and you only make it halfway through this phase or that phase. I don't remember all the specifics.
Right.
You're going to get re-rated to needs of the Navy. If you make it further along in the school, your options are better in where you get more options to go do other cool jobs. But if you drop out later, you can still go do SARC or as a foreman or whatever. Yeah. Or you're going to end up being an undesignated seaman on a boat somewhere, which is not what you wanted to do. Okay. Now, so you can do the contract and risk failing, and you're basically risking it all on your ability to make it through the pipeline. Sure. And some people drop out because they can't make it, or some people drop out because they got hurt or something, and it just wasn't on the cards for them, and that's completely fine. There's 2,500 people attached to each Navy Special Warfare group in the Navy, just in the Navy Special Warfare community. Okay. Those are all people in a support role, supporting the guys who go do cool shit, the SEAL or the SWIC or whatever. Sure. SEAL SDVTs, the SEAL delivery vehicle teams, the guys that take the SEALs in and take them out. Right. Right. And I imagine that the other branches are the same way. Yeah. I knew guys that were corpsmen that deployed in Europe with Special Operations Command Europe with a SEAL team or a SEAL unit out in Turkey or Africa or whatever. Right. You do not have to risk your entire career going that route on the chance that you might not make it through the pipeline. Mm-hmm. It is completely okay to say, you know what, I want to go do cool guy shit, but I don't want to risk the chance that it's not going to work out. And they're gonna stick you as a freaking cook in chow hall. Right. Yeah. You can go be a gunner's mate, or a CB, or whatever. Yeah, and it's like 80% cool guy shit. You know, it's still cool. And you can apply for orders to a SEAL team, or you can apply for orders to, some EOD unit somewhere. Yeah. Because they still need corpsmen, or they still need gunners mates to maintain their firearms. Oh, absolutely. They still need, there's a whole support group that paper pushers, and they still need all that. Yeah, absolutely. So they got to get medically cleared before they go. There's a whole process. Like they have to have a doctor, they have to have admin, they've got to have all those things in place. Yeah, supply, all kind of stuff that makes it work. Mm-hmm. Right. So you do not have to risk your, Yeah. I mean, it's like anything else, and any kind of high level competition. NFL, like you want to
like right now, these guys in the college, going into the portal right now, the NFL portal, like there's some risk involved. It ain't just like, yeah, like, oh yeah, let's go to NFL, let's try out for the NFL and make all this money. Like there's some risk, and they risk it all, because if you
And
get
how they're
hurt your
doing that.
first season, you might be F, who knows? So
Right.
yeah, there's
Or,
risk with all that stuff.
if you like working out and you want to go work for the NFL as a trainer for the
Yeah,
guys
trainer.
that play on the world stage on these tier one
Yeah,
teams like the fucking Kansas City Chiefs or the 49ers or the
yeah.
a big NFL team, you can go do that and you could still work for the organization.
Do you care who wins? Do you have a team that you want to win the Super Bowl?
I do
Do you?
not.
Okay.
Like I've got two favorite teams, the Chicago Bears and whoever plays the Green Bay Packers. So,
That's a great way to put it. I need to start saying that because I'm an Ohio State Buckeye fan
yeah.
and a Cleveland Brown fan. So, Michigan Wolverines were always our rivals and for college. And so I would say the same thing, but just in a different way. I'm like, I don't really care who wins this game. I just want Michigan to lose, right?
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, that's a great way to say it. Yeah, two favorite teams, Ohio State and whoever's playing Michigan. Oh man,
Right.
that's great. I love it. Okay.
And so where I'm going with this is there's a lot of different routes that you can take besides being Billy Badass, right?
Yeah.
Most people who
Well,
join the
dude,
military-
I mean, anyone in the military, I don't care if you were a freaking cook, you're more badass than the guy that gets out of high school and just works a shitty job, okay, and never pushes himself to
Sure.
do some kind of, something that betters himself like that.
Sure.
And it's not like we do that to be better than someone else. We do it to test ourselves or whatever, if you want to get schooling out of it or something like that. But it's everything is relative when it comes to those things. Like,
Right.
there's always somebody that's more badass. It's
Well,
that's just how it is.
Let's say you're a Delta operator, but you're
Yeah.
not the guy that you're not the guy that killed Osama bin Laden.
Right. There's Bruce Lee's a
Always gonna be
badass,
somebody that did more.
but he was never in the military. Like
you're a combat veteran. Well, yeah, but you're a combat veteran, but this guy, got the Purple Heart,
yeah.
or
Like
or
it's
this guy got.
Oh, that's a good example, actually. Okay, your friend got a Purple Heart because
Yeah.
he was in the military during combat. He got the combat ribbon, but he wasn't on the front line. But he got injured while he's in a combat zone, but he wasn't in combat. So he got a Purple Heart because he broke his leg. But this other dude got a Purple Heart because he got half his leg blown off. By an ID. Like two totally different things,
Right.
but the same
But on
metal.
paper-
Like these
on
things.
paper, it looks the same.
Yeah, it looks the same. Yeah, you could
And-
tell somebody, dude, I got a Purple Heart.
Yeah. And well,
Oh yeah,
the thing with the veteran community right now, and moving into the airsoft community of people
Yeah.
who are veterans. You could be, Army 82nd Airborne guy, right,
Yeah.
with X many jumps under your boots. But you're an Army Ranger, that deployed to here or there, did this or did that. Well, yeah, but you might be an Army Ranger, but I was fucking 160th SOAR door gunner, doing cool shit,
Yeah.
fucking inserting special operators into behind enemy lines in Afghanistan. Well,
Right.
You might have done that. And so it seems like there's this culture of trying to be
one up. Yeah,
to one up the next guy. Well, you did this, but I did that.
right.
And, well, you might have did that. Well, then I did this. And I think, what? I don't really give a shit whether you served as a cook at
Yeah,
fucking
doesn't matter.
some at Fort
There's
Polk or
respect
whatever.
there either way. Yeah.
Right. Somebody has to do it, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I don't really give a shit what you did in the military.
No.
You
don't have to prove yourself. It's fine.
Right. You don't have to be like, well, I'm a bad motherfucker because of this or that or this or that, or I deployed here or I deployed there.
When I went to these milsims with these guys, I don't tell anyone that I was in the Marine Corps. Mm-hmm. It comes up on here because we talk about being veterans, having military service or whatever. I mean, trading stories. It's fun. It's fun to talk about, most of the stuff. So it's like, but in daily life, I don't go around talking about it. Like I'm not puffing up my chest, but the majority of people, I know what you're saying. And in the airsoft community, I've noticed it as well. And this isn't anything in life, but I think it comes out more in airsoft community, especially milsims, because of the environment. It's a military-like environment, which is why it's called a milsim. But there's going to be the majority of people that I've met in my lifetime that have any kind of level of experience in anything. Mm-hmm. The ones that have not been through enough in their own mind, like they're insecure. The guys that are insecure about whatever they've accomplished or didn't accomplish, they're the ones that are talking. They're the ones that are trying to tell stories. They're the ones that are exaggerating. They're the ones that are lying. They're the ones that are like, that's how it is. It's always like that. It's like that in high school. You got guys on the football team that stand on the sidelines on second string, and they're the ones that are talking all the time about the football team, and I'm on the football team, and they're trying to brag about it because they want to be first string. And I'm not saying they're less of a guy for not being first string. I'm saying they're the ones that usually are the ones trying to prove to everybody, I was on the football team. And the first stringers are like, bro, yeah, okay, let's go have fun. Let's go kick some ass and have fun. And that's what I've noticed in the military and in milsims. It's the same kind of thing. And you can always spot them a mile away. They're usually the ones that are exaggerating their stories. Now, some guys are kind of like in the middle of that. They're very comfortable with who they are and what they've accomplished or didn't accomplish. But they're really good storytellers, and they exaggerate the stories for effect, and they're really good at it. There is a difference. But the guys that are trying to puff their chests up to get a pat on the back because they're insecure, those kind of guys are usually cause some division. They're usually the ones that cause drama, or trying to. Yeah.
The thing that I learned, going into the military and then getting out and being a veteran. You know what? There was a video that I saw once, and it was a guy on the internet who was an Army vet, and he was in a car accident after he got out, and he lost one of his legs.
Mm.
And so it had happened while he was in the military, and he ended up getting out after 3 years or something.
Gotcha.
And somebody commented on one of his videos saying, "No, you barely served, or you were you were in for only this period of time.
Right, you didn't finish.
Served,
yeah,
and you didn't finish your contract.
Mm-hmm.
You're less than somebody who did a dozen years or whatever." And what he said, and I'll never forget it because he put it so well, is he said, I hear what you're saying. He's like, let me ask you this. What about all those guys, what about the 13 service members who died when we were pulling out of Afghanistan in Kabul that got blown up, that didn't finish their contract? Or the 58, almost 60,000 service members who died in Vietnam that didn't get to finish their tour because they ended up getting killed?
Mm-hmm.
Or what about the guys that go off and get blown up and they don't get to finish their contract? Did they barely serve? No. You're not going to say that.
Right.
if you served on the dotted line and you got an honorable discharge, you're a fucking veteran. I don't give a shit whether you were the cook,
Yeah.
you know, working in the DFAC of the galley, busting out the best plate of pancakes that you can,
Yeah.
or you're out on the range being a cool guy, you know, operator dude, you know, putting rounds down range, but you did never deploy to a combat zone. But you,
Right.
but you were,
It happens.
you know, it happens, right? If you're a veteran, you're a veteran, right? Granted, I know 100% that not just because you're a veteran does not mean shit to anybody. If you know, you can wear your veteran hat, going down to the fucking grocery store, getting your gallon of milk and a carton of eggs,
Yeah.
and a pack of cigarettes, and somebody might thank you for your service, and whether they do or don't, that's cool, right?
Yeah.
Nobody gives a shit whether or not you're in the military.
Yeah. That's not a big deal.
People care. You know what? It's like saying, you know what? I played football in college.
Yeah.
I didn't go to the NFL, but you know, I was, you know, the kicker on my football team with the Ohio Buckeyes or whatever.
Right.
And to somebody where that, if you come across somebody in your life where that means something to them, then they're gonna say, hey, that's fucking awesome.
Right.
You know, if you come across somebody, you know, and you're a veteran and their dad was in the service, hey, thank you for your service, bro. I appreciate you for doing whatever you did. Then that's cool. But the vast majority of people couldn't give a rat's ass whether or not you were in the military. But people who served in the military, like you and myself, that didn't do it to get, you know,
Yeah. To prove something to somebody else. I did to, yeah.
Somebody else.
I did it for me. Yeah.
Well,
I did it to prove it to myself, but
and for my own personal reasons.
yeah.
And what happened, you know, in the course between me signing up on the dotted line and getting out is kind of fucking water under the bridge.
Yeah.
Right? Being a veteran doesn't mean that you're a good person, and it does not mean that you just should command respect wherever you go.
Yeah.
And I don't care whether you're an operator. I don't care whether you deploy.
Right. Now you're talking about like guys you've met on the airsoft field and
right.
Like
and people that I know. You know, I have friends that deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan. I have a very good buddy of mine that deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan, and it was in the Second Battle of Fallujah. And he's humble.
Yeah.
And you know what? And he'll talk about it if it comes up in conversation.
Sure.
But for the most part, he leaves it alone.
Yeah.
And you know, I've got a buddy, Adam, who was with, I believe, 17 Charlie Company, Suicide Charlie. Forgive me if I get that wrong.
I don't know.
He was a Marine that got out, went back in as a corpsman, and deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan.
Yeah.
And he's a disabled vet, and me and him are pretty good buddies, and we talk, and we bonded over the fact we're both corpsmen.
Now, when you go to Milsims now, you said when you first started doing it, it's like a therapeutic. It kind of helped like PTSD and that kind of thing. Now, have you heard of Freddie Lux from Veterans for Airsoft?
I am familiar with VFA.
Yeah.
However, I have not yet been to one of their events.
Okay.
The team that I'm on, White Horse Milsim, we're planning on. We're looking at a couple different events, and I believe that's one of the ones that we're looking at. Going to one of their events and supporting the organization and whatnot. I know that, you know, they're a really good organization helping veterans get back into the saddle,
right,
and getting out and kind of bonding over the things.
Camaraderie, yeah, exactly.
You know, and you know, moving the conversation more towards, you know, the airsoft community, and less towards the Milsim side of the community. As far as airsoft goes, whether you go to this event or you go to that event, or you're a weekend guy who goes casually to a local field and you go and you have fun with your friends, or you go to a 3-day event out in somewhere across the country that you had to drive and you had to spend all this money to go to,
Yeah.
uh, you're there to have fun, right? At the end of the day, we're all grown ass adults dressing up in military
Right.
uniforms and shooting at each other with BBs.
Now, what's your most your favorite experience at a milsim or an
My
airsoft in general?
airsoft in general, I would
What's your most
say
exciting?
there was a time where at um I was at Operation Red Dawn, I believe, uh, which was a mere tactical event, and I was running because I run as a medic
Yeah.
with this team of Vietnam guys, and one of my guys was hit, and so I ran full battle rattle up over this little bridge over this creek, and then tripped as we're getting shot at, and went ass over tea kettle over, and all I could remember was seeing the absolute look of sheer terror on my buddy's face as he looked up at me as I went fucking tumbling through the fucking air and fucking hit the ground, and I like it was like it was in slow motion, and I got up, I hit the ground, and all my fucking mags went everywhere out of my bandolier. My helmet came off. I was like, holy fuck. And I fucking crawled over to him, put a tourniquet on his arm, grabbed all my mags, my helmet. I was like, let's get the fuck out of here. And we ran up behind this little wood pile, and we're just sitting there getting shot at like, oh fuck, what the
Oh
fuck?
my God.
And that was something that I look back on very fondly because I couldn't have done that again if I tried, right? And it was just like, it was just so fun. Like, I didn't get like seriously hurt or not,
Right.
but it was just so. And I can only imagine whoever was on the opposite side shooting at us was
Yeah.
like, what the fuck just happened to this guy?
That's a pretty common thing, though. I mean, my boys, when they first started milsims, I mean, we were recording all this stuff. They all had GoPros on, and I don't know how many times, bro, they are tripping and falling and falling and falling. It's just it's pretty normal, especially in the woods. You don't see roots and rocks that are covered up by leaves and stuff.
Step into a gopher hole and you go.
Yeah, exactly, man.
Ass over tea kettle.
Now, what was your biggest milsim you've been to, or biggest event, I guess?
Biggest event I would probably say was Colony Wars up at Black Ops. So I haven't yet been to a 3-day milsim event.
Yeah.
But myself and the team that I'm on are planning on going to a event called Operation Thunderdome 4 up at the Northgate Mall in Durham, North Carolina.
Okay.
I believe is where it's at. Excuse me.
Yeah.
And it's in an abandoned mall.
Okay.
And it's hosted by Operation Lion's Claw. I want to say.
Yeah, Lion Claws. Yeah, Lion Claws event.
Lion Claw. I'm fairly certain that that's what it is.
Okay.
And I got my ticket, and we're gonna fucking.
When's that?
That is.
Is that March?
March 15th, I believe. I'm fairly certain.
Cool.
And I got my ticket. I'm gonna be there, and I'm gonna drive the
awesome, dude.
hours or whatever it's gonna be.
Right.
And me and a bunch of the guys are gonna go out and have a fucking blast.
Oh, that's gonna be cool.
It's Operation Lion Claws Milsim. And you could say, are you out in the field for 40 consecutive hours? At the risk of getting shot at any time. That's what Milsim is. that's not milsim. And I mean, and you could split hairs,
I don't think people talk about that.
you know.
I've not heard most airsofters they don't really talk about that. Like, it's
Right.
because a milsim, the word milsim is
It,
used pretty generally.
right.
It doesn't literally mean it. And this is anyone that's followed this
Hmm.
these podcasts. When I first started talking about this stuff, I thought that when my
Right.
boy, I never heard of it.
That's
My
what I thought
boys, when they
going in.
first went, yeah, and being military minded, they said, "Oh, we're going to a mil sim next weekend." I was like, "What's that?" And they said, "Military simulation." And I was like, "Bro," because I'm like, these
Yeah.
guys have been out of high school for a couple years.
Right.
They were offensive linemen, and
Hmm.
they kept eating as much. They gained a lot of weight after high school, right?
Sure.
And they still had all the muscle. They were strong, but they gained a lot of weight and they were out of shape. And I was like, a military said, I started laughing. I was like, y'all ain't gonna make it. How long is it? And they said 3 days. I was like, no. Oh, hell no.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
because in my mind, I'm thinking
Right.
3 days nonstop. 3 days. Whenever it starts, you don't stop until the end. I didn't
Right.
know there was
Yeah.
breaks. I didn't
Right.
know there was. So, yeah, I know exactly what you mean. And I
Right.
used to talk about this more in the beginning of these podcasts, but what I found was majority of people that have been playing airsoft for a long time, the word milsim itself is more of a general
Right.
kind of term, and
Right.
I use
Right.
it that way as well, because I got used to it. So, and there's
You
different
know,
levels, right? Different
it's
event hosts
kind of
put on different types, you
right.
know.
Like Mere Tactical
Hmm.
rate their events by like tiers, I think. So
Okay.
like Operation Red Dawn, the one that I went to was like a tier 2, and so it wasn't so
Super
far.
intense. Yeah.
It wasn't super intense, but it wasn't
Right.
necessarily. I mean, it wasn't like an open play. I mean, but whether it's an open play or like a Milsim event, it's still just a bunch of people showing up at the same
Sure.
place
Yeah.
and airsoft and shooting at each other. You
Yeah,
know,
that's yeah, your difference in like Third Coast Airsoft,
sure.
that's the ones we have most experience with. They're pretty I feel like they have a really good balance. They
Hmm.
play for 2.5 to 3 hours of really intense and their events are pretty big. I mean, Stonebreaker like a 700 people, these kind of things. So it's you're never running out of action unless you're on the winning team that's winning by a lot and
Hmm.
you're kind of like waiting for enemies to shoot, but
Right.
it's there's usually not too many stalemates because those guys, any good event host is going to have some kind of adjustments on the fly. Like they'll add in these a third faction, or they'll add in these side missions with the
Right.
cadre
Different objectives. Yeah.
to, yeah, let's sneak around here and kind of they stir up shit. I mean, that's their
Right.
job. That's your mission, is to go stir up shit so you get people out of this deadlock of a
Right.
thing or whatever. But yeah, the intensity part is like Milsim West. When I first heard about them, like
Sure.
the events, like if you leave the field before it's done,
Hmm.
because this is what Mr. Off Topic told me, Mr. OT. He's like, yeah, my first Milsim I ever went to was a Milsim West event, and when I didn't know that if you left the playable area, the combat zone, that you were done, like you couldn't come back. And he goes, so I left 9 hours in to a 40-hour event, and I couldn't go back. And I was like, no way, really? He goes, yeah, yeah. It's like really strict. Like you are. It's like a mock. It's more of a real literal term of military simulation. So,
Right.
there's that, and then there's lion claws, and then
Right.
all these different events. But yeah, they're not
And
all
Milsim
going to be
West
that
is like
intense.
the top, like elite, the
Military experience, yeah.
it's Milsim West is basically the epitome of
Right.
Mils. Like that's probably as close as you can get
So
to
spending 3 days or 2.5 days in the
actual like,
military.
yeah,
Yep.
like an actual FTX,
Exactly.
and they put on some of the just most intense events
Exactly.
that you can find.
Well, some of the ones too, like some of these guys have been, they've gone to some of these and they get stuck doing like handing out supplies, whatever. I'm like, that's actually real life in the
Yeah,
military.
yeah,
So You
I feel
know,
like
you
it's
might
not
get
that
stuck
you
doing
have,
that.
a super awesome time
Right.
supporting the mission,
Yeah.
but somebody has to do it
Somebody's got to do it.
to make the magic happen, right?
Right.
You know,
Right.
uh, like one of
But
the
see, knowing
things,
that, that's why there's all these different options. You can go to different events
right?
that are hosted by different coordinators.
Hmm.
So
And
you
I
don't
feel
have to
like
go to
that,
Milsim West. That's not the only option. You don't have to go to Third Coast. You
right?
can find something in between, and there's a bunch of them popping up.
And
You
I
know,
feel like that variety
it's
is
great, man.
good because
It's great.
it gives you some options in terms of so you don't have to make the trek to this event at this
No,
place.
dude, like,
It would make more sense for you to go to this place
absolutely.
and maybe spend a little less money on gas and whatever, you know.
Exactly. Not only
So
that, but I
I feel
mean,
like
those
the
those that variety gives these guys that are out of high school for a couple years, that are 350 pounds, that are they could walk a mile, they could
sure,
hike a mile with gear, but they're not running. Okay, they're not sprinting.
sure,
They're kind of out of shape, but they still got some strength. But they're not going to make it in real military, right?
right,
So
right,
uh, this gives them an option to go have fun for a weekend and still play like mock war and gear up and get all this cool looking gear on.
right,
Like,
right,
I love the variety. I love that it's like that. I love that you can, enter some of these things at a really novice level, but look badass
right,
and
right,
pretend badass for the weekend, and then have some stories to tell.
right, and it's all about having fun at the end of the day.
For
I mean,
sure.
no matter where you go or what you do, this is a hobby
Yeah.
that a bunch of grown ass adults and maybe some
Yeah.
people that aren't
Shooting fake
that
guns. Okay.
yeah
Like,
that are,
it's fun.
this is a hobby, like people do this for fun.
Yeah.
Something that I noticed is when you start going into the Milsim more serious realm of things, that it's very easy for people to take it more serious than I think it was ever meant to be
I mean, it depends on the coordinator,
on the
on the
coordinator,
host,
right?
the event. Hmm.
Like I really like Milsim West has their like tax op, which is
Yeah.
this list of all this shit, and this is what you can do, and this is what you can't do, and this is
Right.
where you gotta, this is what uh, type of gear you have to have, and this is what you have to have a sleeping bag, and you have to have
Exactly.
a ruck that holds this much
Hmm.
stuff, and you need these kind, not necessarily these kind of boots, but boots that are broken in and that you're not gonna bust your shit with,
Right.
having to
Yeah.
unwrap a whole thing of moleskin because you're getting blisters, right? So I think that events like Milsim West are great,
Yeah.
but I feel like when it goes into such, I don't want to say extreme detail because it's what it's meant to do. That's like comparing this event and that event, and that event is kind of like comparing apples to oranges. They're both fruit, but one of them they're just different, and they're never going to be the same, right? It's easy to when you go when an event is set up in such a coordinated this everything has to go a certain way and you have to have this specific stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like it's easy to get into the weeds with you know well this this sight, this rifle sight that you have on your gun is not necessarily, that's more of like a marksman role than a rifleman role
Yeah.
because it's got X so much magnification versus a rifleman role would be more like
Yeah.
a
Yeah, but I mean,
2 or
they're good at communicating, specifically, like, let's say
right,
Milsim West events. They're very good at communicating what's expected.
right, and
So
you
people that
have to
show up
have
that don't,
right,
that's on them. That's not
Sure.
Milsim
Yeah.
West's fault. They
No.
put out as much information. Third Coast, they do the same thing, and people show up with the wrong uniform, the wrong gear.
Right.
That's on the person. That
Right.
some
And
event coordinators are more
if
lenient
you
about it, but
show up to an event unprepared,
I'm going to
that's
tell you
not
right now,
the event's
if you
fault.
want if you want that full experience, do a Milsim West event, but be
Right.
prepared, and I mean be prepared. Okay, do your due diligence of researching what the hell you're supposed to do and what you're supposed to show up with, and don't whine and cry and bitch online if you show up and don't have the right gear and they
Right.
kick you out the field, because that is what's expected at that event. I
Right.
respect that. I respect the fact that there's all these options where people can go do that. But don't be a little bitch if you go there and you didn't research enough, right? And you don't, and you show up ignorant and you don't have the right stuff, and then
Right.
they boot you out. This ain't
Which is
like
all
little
the time.
playtime in the back sandbox, okay?
Right.
This is real, unreal. It is fun, obviously, but there's all these different options. If Milsim West was the only one putting on airsoft events in the whole country,
Sure.
or there was no other options or whatever, then I mean, I don't know. It just, if you choose to do that, it's up to people.
Right.
If
Right.
somebody
Right.
chooses to do that, then go do it. I don't, there's no one is ever. I don't think no one is, in the airsoft community is sitting here going, "Oh, Milsim West should change their rules." I've never heard that.
I
I've
don't.
never heard them saying that.
Yeah.
Now people have showed up and gone, "Oh crap, I don't have the right gear," and they kicked me out. Yeah, good. You shouldn't be allowed to play if you show up with the wrong stuff.
Right. And
I don't care if you bought a ticket or
your
not.
yeah, your failure to prepare or to plan accordingly is not everybody else's emergency. That's
Yeah,
just
right.
all.
Exactly. Now, what do you got going on for? You got something in March, and then
Yeah.
what do you got going on for the rest of the year? Do you have anything coming up that you're gonna have to get new gear for? Speaking of gear, prepare for,
Um.
exercise for. What do you have to do?
Well, so White Horse, so we have this roster of events that we're looking at. So
Yeah,
we kind of came together and said, all right, that we got, small events that we're looking at and larger events that we're looking at.
yeah,
And everybody comes together and say, all right, it would make more sense to go to the events that more of us can make it to, right? Because if we're on a team and you go to an event and you're the only guy from the team that's there, you're basically just by yourself, right?
Well,
I
I
mean,
mean,
not
aren't most events like tan versus green or whatever? Like you're gonna
right.
get
Yeah,
stuck
but
on
you
a
wouldn't be
bigger,
by yourself. But
right? You're gonna be,
if you're on a team and you want to go to events with your team, it would make more sense for everyone to be like, all right, who's gonna go to this one, or
mm-hmm.
who wants to go to that one,
Sure, yeah,
or this one's coming up a little close. Like there was an event in February that we were looking at, and we
yeah,
were planning this out way back in December, and we're like, you know what? It's this event. I can't remember exactly what it was.
yeah,
Is going to be just a little close.
mm-hmm.
Tickets just went on sale last night.
Yeah,
It's just too close to realistically say that we're going to be able to get we're going to be able to expect 9 or 10 guys to be able to make
sure,
it out to this event to run
yeah.
a whole.
Well, what do you
rifle.
guys got for the rest of the year? You got this one in March. What do you have after that?
I would have to look at our schedule and see.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you knew off the
list.
top of your head.
No, I mean, well, so I know that we're looking at Operation Lion Claws.
Yeah.
I know that we're looking at Third Coast events. I think there's one in Texas that we're
Yeah,
looking
there's
at.
one in Thunderdome or something like that.
Something like that. I think
I
there's
just
one
saw
in
it
Texas
yesterday.
we're looking at.
Yeah.
there was one in California that we were looking at, but
Whoa,
that's
that's a
really,
big trip.
really, really, really far, and you have
It's
to
an
make all of
expensive
your
trip.
guns California compliant when you go, and a lot of guys just weren't interested in the logistical
Oh, it's a lot of travel, man. It's a lot of
thing.
travel.
It just, you know, it everybody is trying when we put together a list of events that we want to go to, we're looking at this from a logistical standpoint of what is actually going to be within the realm of possibility
Right.
for a decent amount of guys.
Yeah.
When you're looking at it from a standpoint of with Minty being like, all right, Minty and the guys that are on this on staff that are kind of talking over this kind of stuff. You have to be like, all right, well, when we have to decide what events we go to, we have to pick events to go to that it would be within the realm of possibility that between
Sure.
9 and 15 guys can all make it.
Now, what's your main weapon you run?
So I run a WeTech gas blowback Mark 17.
Oh, nice. I like those.
Yeah, so I have a Max Tac Scarab aluminum outer barrel
Okay.
with I run an LVOA type scope with a little reflex on top.
Nice.
I have an FN Ergo 2 polymer pistol grip. I have an MREX, the medium length MREX
Okay.
M-Lock grip. I have a Daniel Defense M-Lock vertical grip, and I sometimes run a bipod with an M-Lock adapter.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, and then I have like a little, it's not like a name brand PEC 15, but it's got like a green, red laser, a light, and an IR
Okay.
laser.
Right.
And so that's kind of what I run. I'm currently looking into swapping out the front, the front iron sights. There's a adapter that you could 3D print that fits into that slot that puts a
Right.
pin rail right above the gas block, so that you could run aftermarket iron sights. So I'd like
Okay.
to be able to do that too.
Nice.
But yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I'm at right now.
So I want to do the next time I have you on. I usually have people on a second time.
Sure.
I want to do I want to go over your like a gear not a review, but go over your gear stuff.
Mhm.
And so I want to wrap this up
Yeah,
here
of
now
course.
because I'm going to watch the NFL game, so the playoff game that's on. It started at 4:30, but
No, that's
what's that? I think it's the Texans tonight, and the Texans and Ravens.
Yeah.
I think I think that's who's playing now, and then the one tonight. But yeah, so man, it was great to talk with you. Great, and by the way, you had your camera worked great. You have a great background. You have a good setup with the headset. So yeah, everything worked out good, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, awesome, for sure. So,
And we'll do the next time. You'll have all your gear, like whatever gear you want to show off.
Yeah, sure.
Close to you, and we'll go over your pistol, your whatever sidearm you use, and your main weapon, and all the cool gear you run. So it'll be cool. And Minty, shout out to Minty. If you are still working on that Snapshot or Snapsoft app, put out some info on it. Let us know. I'd love to have you on here again to talk about it if you're going to release that anytime soon, because we're definitely still waiting on it.
Yeah, for sure. And if anybody wants to go check out White Horse Milsim, you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. I'm pretty sure 198th Light Infantry Brigade on Facebook. We're based out of The Vietnam group is based out of Northeast Indiana or Illinois, and then White Horse Milsim is based out of Michigan. So,
Hell yeah.
and
Awesome, brother.
I just go by Doc. So
Okay.
that's me.
Awesome, man. I appreciate you, brother. You have a good night.